Hi everybody. I've just come back from the movie theater to see the new Ron Howard Beatles film, 8 Days a Week, Beatles the Touring Years. And I saw it with my girlfriend and I saw it with my nephew. And I want to say before I talk about it that I had been online, different message boards, which I do. I frequent a lot of them to hear what the vibe is out there. People have seen it already and they gave their 2 cents, including a lot of people that are Beatle experts that are on certain podcasts, message boards, forums, and I respect everybody's opinion, especially the ones that really know their stuff when it comes to the Beatles, and like myself have been collecting and watching video material for a long time, film footage. So I got the vibe early on that, okay, I know going into this, one thing that seemed to be unanimous was that this was not going to be a film like we had been imagining we were going to see for the last 2 years or however long it's been. Meaning it wasn't going to be a film that's just basically song after song, complete Beatle concert footage or anything like that. No, people said that this film is not going to have many complete songs. I think that, only a couple of songs maybe complete, if that. And so basically it was viewed as a disappointment by a lot of people who'd seen sneak previews of this. So with that in mind, I kind of went in there thinking, well, I like Ron Howard, who directed the film. I like him. I like him as a person. I like him as a star. And I like some of the movies he directed. I mean, his early movie comedy Night Shift is one of my all-time favorite comedies of the 80s or any decade, and so on and so on. But anyway, so this was the attitude that I had. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say, how does Ron Howard handle the story? All right? I'm going to forget about seeing all kinds of dazzling footage that's going to make me as a diehard Beatlemaniac faint, I'm just going to go in there and see, can this man tell the story of the Beatles touring years effectively? After seeing the film, I can say the answer for me is a resounding yes, he can. And I also must say, with all due respect to the people that have seen the film already and some of the buzz that I heard going into this, did you people see a different cut of the film than I saw? Because I loved it. I loved it. So did my nephew, so did my girlfriend. I was so prepared to see nothing new at all, when in fact I was dazzled by so many different audio bits, so many different visuals, both in still pictures that they use, which a lot of them I hadn't seen before, and also, yes, in film clips and concert footage. I think a masterful job was done. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm the type of fan who has to have it all. I mean, back there, even though I don't like to show them in the videos, there's all kinds of bootleg DVDs of, you name it, anything the Beatles did as a group and as solo artists. If you want to look around, you know where to find them. I've seen it all, or at least most of it. In fact, I didn't know if Ron Howard was a big Beatleholic or not. I was under the impression that he wasn't necessarily a big Beatles connoisseur, even though he probably likes them somewhat. But this to me looks like a collection of vignettes and material where the person who was responsible for editing it together did everything in their power possible to try and not repeat a lot of the same stuff over and over again. I mean, naturally, there's stuff we've all seen before, stuff that casual fans have seen before, stuff that diehard maniacs like me have seen before. I mean, the Beatles story is the Beatles story, and the Beatles footage is what it is. I mean, you can't just create new unseen footage out of the sky that nobody's ever seen before. So I was amazed. It looked to me like they went out of their way, or Ron Howard did, or they did, whoever, whatever the team was, went out of their way to try to make this somewhat different and not always ad nauseum just repeat the same old things. At least that's the impression I got. It's only one screening. that I've seen, and I'll tell you, it was so enjoyable that I may see it again in the next couple of days, because I have a friend of mine that wasn't able to make it tonight, and I said, well, if it was good enough to see in the theater, I'll see it again. What can I say? What else can I say? I was concerned going in about the talking heads, as they call them, the people who were interviewed. And I got to tell you, I owe something of an apology to Whoopi Goldberg, because I said to myself, Whoopi Goldberg, when I heard that she was one of the people, I said, how in the world is Whoopi Goldberg going to know much about the Beatles? How is she an authority? You know, and it turns out that she really provides a lot of insight. I don't want to spoil it all for you, but she actually has a lot of good, heartwarming stories, or one heartwarming story to tell, and she really was perfect in her recounting her feelings of the Beatles and Beatlemania. And then there's Elvis Costello, who actually wasn't anywhere near as effective as Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, Elvis Costello worked with Paul McCartney in 1989 on the Flowers in the Dirt album, but you know, his recollections weren't really necessary in the film, in my opinion, so he didn't really offer anything. I think that Larry Kane, you know, the person who was a young reporter in his early 20s at the time with the Beatles, he has a lot of memories and information and a good chunk of time to talk about what he knows or knew, and he's really invaluable to the project. Now, I'd also heard from some people who'd seen the film and the fans, and I was worried about this. They said that John Lennon kind of like gets short shrifted, like he's really like underused, you know, because he's gone, and you know, along with George. But one of the happiest things is I thought the way they used old footage of John, and the way they had both audio and video clips, and along with George Harrison as well, even though they're both departed, they still were very, very much felt here. I felt their presence through the whole thing. Indeed, I found that in the movie, all four Beatles, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, were all used to full potential. I got a feeling that nobody was neglected in the movie. You got the feeling of all four of the Fab Four all having their time to shine. I didn't get any feeling that anybody was given a little amount of time, and everyone seemed just as important as the other. There are, of course, new interviews done for the film with both Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. Very, very enjoyable, very insightful. And even stories you've heard before. Like, I don't want to give too much away here, but even something like, say, Ringo, who had before often told stories how he could, excuse me, he couldn't hear himself. They couldn't hear themselves play, so he didn't even know what song they were up to. So sometimes he'd often said he had to go look at the other guys to see what song they were playing. But I really like the funny way in which he describes it this time, which I'll leave for a laugh. It's funny, it's insightful. Everybody was put to good use. They covered Brian Epstein, how important he was. They covered George Martin, the producer, how important he was. Everybody got their piece, and even the roadies, even like Neil Aspinall and Mal Evans got mentioned. I really got the feeling watching this film that Ron Howard did a great job of accomplishing what he wanted to. That showing how the Beatles started out, and they wound up starting to tour in '63, so going to America, and then different countries along the way. And then I really liked how you got the feeling of why they stopped touring. When you watch this, you get a good feeling, as they do a good job of relating exactly what it was that made them have to give it up. And as I was watching it, I thought to myself, man, if I was going through some of this stuff, I would give up touring too. And then they go to work in the studio to do Sgt. Pepper. And I like that just enough mention and attention was given to Sgt. Pepper as a kind of the closing of the film, and some of the other albums. It was a perfect way to end the movie, to show how even after touring, boom, there was Sgt. Pepper, a brand new start of a new era, as the Complete Beatles documentary used to say. And the way in which they ended the film, One More Time, live on the rooftop, the Let It Be film, the little concert they do on the rooftop, is phenomenal. You never saw it looking that clear. We're still waiting for the Let It Be footage, Let It Be film, I should say. We still haven't gotten it. But what I really was impressed by was that a lot of the angles from the Let It Be rooftop performance were different angles, different shots, singing at different moments where you used to see shots of people milling about on the streets. Now you see the Beatles. I mean, I kind of have an eye for that kind of thing. I kind of like know, I pick up on every frame of a film or something when I'm used to it. And I want to also say again, you know, I have every, like I probably said this before, it's all running in my mind and I'm trying to get it all out effectively after a first screening while it's fresh. I have everything, believe me. I'm not one of these people like maybe all I've seen is Ed Sullivan. Maybe I saw a little of the Washington concert, and based on that, I'm saying, oh wow, there's so much rare footage. No, I'm a guy that has everything. There was so much home movie footage in there cut in. Whenever they used interviews, they always seemed to be different interview clips than what I'm used to. I mean, it just really looked like they made an effort to try different footage. Also, there's a couple of bits in there that are colorized, or more than a couple actually. You have like the Washington D.C. concert where they do I Saw Her Standing There. That's one complete song that they choose to focus on. It's colorized, not very well. I like that they had the Blackpool Night Out colorized, again, performance of John doing the lead vocals on Help. I always loved that performance. And the colorization, while not good, it's funny, I'm not in favor of colorization. As a film buff, I'm kind of anti-colorization, but I do like the way in which it was used in this film. I think that for the purposes of this documentary, this movie, I actually enjoyed as something different, a change from the usual footage, seeing it in color, even though it's not real color. It kind of did something different for me. I could always watch the original black and white footage over and over again, as I have over the years. I have all that stuff, you know. But this made it feel a little different. I know that after I make this video, I'm going to think of all sorts of things that I neglected to mention here. I just want to get across that as a summary, that I thought that overall that Ron Howard did tell his story that he wanted to tell. I think it was really a great feeling. You get the whole feeling of Beatlemania and the frenzy that went on and the power and why the Beatles were as great as they were, great musicians. I should also throw in here that, as I say, some of the audio in-studio stuff I'd heard, and some of it I thought I hadn't heard before too. Even some of those in-studio audio rarity clips and banter and dialogue between songs that they use in some of the studio moments in the film when they're at Abbey Road making their music. I don't think I heard some of that. But everything succeeded. This succeeded wonderfully. I'm also, as anybody who knows me can tell you, I'm not a person to give anything Beatles a free pass. I mean, there's a lot of things I can tell you that I did not like that were released Beatle-wise or weren't that good. I'm not afraid to criticize something. So this is as honest as I could get. I really enjoyed it. Now, after the movie was over, because it was shown in the theaters, we were treated to a 30-minute version of the Shea Stadium film. This is the 50-minute film that came out in the late 60s that is now reduced to 30 minutes, and it's just basically the concert. Now, there's still a couple of songs missing. You don't have She's a Woman in the Shea Stadium concert. You don't have Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, which I believe they also performed. And first of all, the visual cleanup is beautiful. That footage from Shea Stadium has never looked more sharp and colorful and beautiful. Nothing to worry about there. The audio too is very good. The audio was cleaned up and stuff, but one thing I'm not sure of, just by my first view of it, I thought that the first song, Twist and Shout, sounded like the record was kind of used. I'm pretty sure the record for Twist and Shout was used somewhere in there, and I only spotted that feeling again on the song Babies in Black. I thought they used the actual studio recording for that, which is kind of odd because the other ones all seemed the live. I mean, like Dizzy Miss Lizzy sounded like authentic. Also, one that's really a relief to me was when Ringo sings Act Naturally at Shea Stadium. We're so used to it being the record, again, the record of Act Naturally that they did is what they always substituted and played over the film. This time it really is Ringo singing it, and it's not the record, which I thought was just fabulous. But it's funny, you know, I almost feel embarrassed to say this as a fan, but after watching Ron Howard's movie, the Shea Stadium performance film itself in this 30-minute version seemed almost anticlimactic. Still, they're saying right now it's not going to be included in the actual Blu-ray and DVD home video release, and I think it's November it's coming out. It's a shame if they don't put it as an extra. Also, I can't really confirm this. I'm sorry. There's one of my viewers told me that Sid Bernstein's family is supposed to be making some noise and some waves about they're not happy about the Shea Stadium, maybe royalties and things like that. I don't know all the details, but I haven't heard anything else yet myself, so I don't know how accurate that is. I don't mean to doubt the person. I'm just saying I haven't heard anything else. I feel like I've said a lot here, but maybe haven't said it all at the moment. If I can think of a part two, if I need a part two, I'll do an addendum to this video, and I'll make another chapter of it if something comes across. All I can say is it fires on all cylinders. A great Beatles documentary. It really tells a story, hits all the marks, shows you things you're not used to seeing all the time, substitutes new interview clips, stuff of John that we don't see, interviews all the time, not a lot, from the 70s. But I don't know, I just had a great time. And I hope everybody out there who's a Beatles fan is going to go out and check this film out. I think it's a lot better than what I've heard so far as the buzz. Anyway, that's off the top of my head. First thoughts. Thanks.